Hi, I am Matt, and this is Matt Reflects. Today we're going to be talking about qualified immunity. This is very close to heart on me. I work in a professional field, and I don't have anything like that. I don't have any sort of qualified immunity in my job, and I really don't feel that anybody else should either. Everybody should be playing by the same rules, whether you're a nurse, which I am, whether you're law enforcement, whether you're federal agents, whether you're the military, or whether you're flipping burgers. Everybody should have the same level of protections in this country. Anyway, we'll start with we're going to start with a definition of qualified immunity. I'm going to use the one from Wikipedia, mostly because I think it actually does a pretty good job overall. And if you go to the Wikipedia one, it does have some information on some of the case law that defined it. So anyway, in the United States, qualified immunity is a legal principle of federal law that grants government officials performing discretionary functions immunity from lawsuits and damages unless the plaintiff shows that the official violated clearly established statutory or constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. It is comparable to sovereign immunity, though it protects government employees rather than the government itself. It is less strict than absolute immunity by protecting officials who make reasonable but mistaken judgments about open legal questions, extending to all officials, but the plainly incompetent or those who knowingly violate law. Qualified immunity applies only to government officials in civil litigation and does not protect the government itself from suits arising from officials' actions. The U.S. Supreme Court first introduced qualified immunity doctrine in Pearson versus Ray in 1967, the case litigated during the height of the civil rights movement. It's stated to have been originally introduced with the rationale of protecting law enforcement officials from frivolous lawsuits and financial liabilities in cases where they acted in good faith under unclear legal situations. Starting around 2005, courts increasingly applied the doctrine to cases involving the use of excessive or deadly force by police, leading to widespread criticism that has become a nearly fail-safe tool to let police brutality go unpunished and deny victims their constitutional rights, as summarized in the 2020 Reuters report. Okay, so that's what it's defined on Wikipedia. So I'm going to propose an idea. If I go to work today, which I don't have to work today, but if I did, and I went to work and I went down to the emergency room, I was pulled. I'd have to be a nurse that night down in the ED. I normally work on a med-surg unit. I've got a patient who comes in who is in dire straits. They're dying. Do I have some legal protections? Yeah, I've got some. I do have some. Some of the legal protections include the fact that I would have to establish, even if they can't speak for themselves, that it's somebody under somebody would likely consent, to life-saving care, provided if they had the opportunity to. There is legal doctrine that does allow us some protections from that. But here's where that ends. If I go and I start CPR, I break all the person's ribs, I damage their heart in the process, but they live, I'm legally liable. I can be sued. I'm going to put it the same situation, except we're going to apply it to a police officer. Same person out in the field. The police officer starts the CPR. They are under the same protections, the Good Samaritan style protections that would state that somebody would reasonably say yes to life-saving care if they were capable or affected within that effective realms. I know there's some legal differences in how I put it versus the actual writing, and the legal writing is any legalese is not really it's really stupid sounding in a lot of cases. But anyhow, no, I digress on that. That same officer doing it would have extended protections. Well, he would be protected from the same thing I would in providing the care. He or she would also be protected from any litigation for the damage done to the patient's heart, whereas I wouldn't. If I make a mistake in medications and harm a patient and the patient dies, not only could I go to jail for it, which we have seen that happen recently, I could lose my license. I could get sued. I could lose my house. I could lose everything that I have. Officer goes out and shoots a person, but the person was resisting arrest or something like that. Most of them get off. Most of them get off and have nothing, and they can't be sued. Now, the city that they work for can be sued. Why can I be sued? And that officer can't. That makes no sense. If I was within my professional realms and I am doing the job to the best of professional capability, why should I be able to be sued? And a police officer doing something within their professional bounds can't be sued. Well, that's why that's one of the major reasons qualified immunity is a crock of bullshit. It's just straight bullshit. For me, I have to, you know what I have to do to make sure that I'm okay and when I not get sued? I have to carry my own insurance. That's how you handle it as a nurse. You carry your own insurance, so if you get sued, you don't lose your life and everything you've worked for. That police officer doesn't have to do that. They don't have to carry that because you know what? They can't be sued. That is bullshit. If you can sue the McDonald's kid for accidentally spilling your drink on you because they dropped the cup, you should be able to sue the officer for the same thing or something similar. So I digress. We won't get too deep more into that because I could probably bitch all day about that. One of the big objections to ending qualified immunity is that it would decimate our police force, and there is some truth to that. But on the other hand, does that stop people from going and working at a munitions factory? Got a munitions factory not too far from where I live. I live in southwestern Virginia. And we have a munitions factory up in Pulaski, Virginia. One of the sections blew up a couple of years ago. Doesn't stop people from working up there because they have to go to work. They don't have any real protections. What stops people from working at a hospital as a nurse? I just had to go through school. I had to take testing. I had to go through two years of school. I had to hit boards, pass my boards, and I have to keep up all my stuff. Again, yes, there's not enough nurses in the field, but part of that is it's just not the easiest schooling. It's not. I'm not going to say it's the hardest schooling, but for 2 years of school, they really attempt to pack in a bachelor's worth of material in a 2-year program. That's just how it works. Same goes for LPNs, whether it's RNs, LPNs. They both do a lot more than other programs within that same realm. But again, I digress on that. That's a whole nother thing. I have a personal opinion on nursing schools and healthcare, and I'll get into a video on that. I think that'll be a really neat video for my own personal opinions and how I would set things up. But the qualified immunity thing, nurses don't have qualified immunity, and people go and become nurses all the time. people going ahead and doing your home and reconstructing your home or building additions or any sort of work like that, they don't have qualified immunity. Yeah, people go to work every day doing them. If the police were to lose their qualified immunity, yes, it would suck for policing in the area for a short period of time. And then guess what? People are going to go back to work. Those officers may go find a different job. Maybe they'll work in that factory that blows up. I mean, maybe they'll come work and become a nurse and come work with me. There's going to be new officers, but they shouldn't have a free pass to do fucking bad things. Because oftentimes ones that do get away with qualified immunity are also beating the living shit out of people. Maybe like happened when Rodney King, a couple years ago with George Floyd. Yeah, some of them do get put behind bars as they should, but others do not. But you know what? Just keeping everybody on the level playing field. I strongly support our officers. I actually commented on a Facebook post today of some officers doing some wonderful things here in town. A group put together school bags for some kids that don't have much, so they could have stuff for school. A new backpack and pencils and pens and all that stuff that our president said you only need one of, and in school you probably need more than one. I'm joking around, sort of. But anyhow, that's beyond. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Comment if you disagree or agree. We can try and maybe hold more discussion on it, because I do see the other side of the story on qualified immunity, because there is the possibility of frivolous stuff coming up and frivolous lawsuits, and we have a whole another problem with tort reform in this country that we'll need to discuss eventually on getting rid of frivolous lawsuits. Anyway, until we meet again, I am Matt. This is Matt Reflects. Like, subscribe, share. Let's get us some more subscribers. We have almost none. And we're going to keep doing this. Rock on.